Let's get more now on our top story, that decision to fast-track vaccinations for Australian athletes and officials heading to the Tokyo Olympics and Paralympics. Matt Carroll is the Chief Executive of the Australian Olympic Committee. He joins us now from Sydney. Matt, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael.
How welcome is this move from your perspective?
Oh, it's great news for the athletes, the coaches, the support staff and their families, and we thank the National Cabinet, Australian Government, Prime Minister, and also particularly Ministers Hunt and Colbeck for their support. It just takes something off the mind of the athletes as they continue their preparation for the Games, and importantly it also gives that sort of sense of safety and security for the families with their sons and daughters heading overseas. And it also puts us on the same footing as many of the other National Olympic Committees around the world where they are being vaccinated by their governments.
It must have caused a lot of anxiety for athletes, given we are now really pushing up to the latest you could possibly get a couple of vaccine doses before the Games.
Well, it is tight, and we were discussing that with the government up till last week. But it's pleasing that the decision's been made. As they often say, the race isn't over till it's done, and we're right on time. But that's fine. We'll roll it out next week, and we're doing it with one of our partners, Aspen Medical, and so there's no load on the public system whatsoever.
Now, we've got quite a few people writing in this morning supporting this, Matt. They believe in the Olympics, they believe in our athletes doing well at the Olympics, but a whole lot more pretty angry about Olympic athletes and staff being bumped up the queue, because we keep hearing from frontline workers, from families of aged care residents, they haven't received their vaccine jabs and they're seeing healthy young Olympic athletes getting theirs. Can you understand the concern and anger being felt by people out there?
Oh, certainly, and I guess of course we appreciate that people would be concerned, but looking at it in what's happening though is that I think it's next week. May starts. All those over 50, all Australians over the age of 50 will be able to get vaccinated. So that picks up many of our officials. Our Indigenous athletes have already been vaccinated. Many of our officials, medical staff and so forth, have also been vaccinated because they're in the as you say, the frontline workers. A number of the Paralympians have already been vaccinated. So we're not dealing with large numbers here. We're dealing in the hundreds of athletes who will require the Pfizer jab. All others with the AstraZeneca, so they'll fit into the rollout plans anyway of the country.
Okay, but can you understand the concern? I'll just quote one of the many messages we're getting this morning. This is from David. I live in a retirement village. There are about 700 people living here, ranging in age from 70 to over 100. None of us have been vaccinated yet, and we are all either in 1A or 1B. How about vaccinating the vulnerable before a bunch of athletes? Again, I'll just ask you, because there is a bit of a messaging challenge for you here. What do you say to those people?
Well, as I said, I think what you said, there is a messaging challenge there, because they are already in the category which the government is vaccinating. And as I said, the government announced that all those over the age of 50 will also receive the AstraZeneca, which fits in that that nursing home. So I'm not in a position to comment on the rollout plans of the government. But all I can say is this: that we were putting no load. There'll be no Australians who aren't in our teams who will be put out of the queue through us, because we're managing the process ourselves to make sure that doesn't happen.
Richard Colbeck, the Sports Minister on the show early this hour, said he expects, in fact the Australian public would expect, all athletes and staff returning from the Games to do a full 14 days in hotel quarantine. Is that fair enough?
Yes, well, we've already planned for the 14-day quarantine. Again, what we're doing is working with the two state governments mainly, but three, possibly Victoria as well, for the returning team, because you've got about over 1,000, about 1,200 Australians coming back from Tokyo. We don't want to put a load on the public, what you might call the public system of hotel quarantine. So yes, there'll be 14 days. We're a fully vaccinated team. We're working closely with the states and the government to ensure that we perhaps have a one which is more, works better for the athletes, but also still protects the country.
What are you talking? You're talking about bespoke, but again, the minister was very clear. He expects 14 days in hotel accommodation, like the tennis stars had to do ahead of the Australian Open.
Yeah, look, it's still in hotels, but because they're vaccinated athletes, whether it's 2 to a room rather than 1 to a room, things of that nature. But as I said, we'll work that through with the various health departments of the states and come up with a bespoke system, as I said, no load on the public system.
Okay, finally, Matt, Carroll, we all need a bit of joy, we all need a bit of pleasure. The Olympic Games will certainly provide that, but we know Tokyo, Japan is struggling with the virus. Are you completely confident, as we sit here in late April, the Games will actually go ahead?
yes, the games will actually go ahead, and they are going to go ahead, and the Japanese government and the people of Tokyo Metropolitan, the organising committee, IOC, were all planned for this for over a year to make the games happen. They were planning without vaccination. That's obviously helping. The athletes go into Tokyo, they go to the village. They're basically in a quasi-quarantine bubble in the village, go to their competition venues, and 48 hours after they finish their competition, they come home. Okay. So the load on the village is kept to a minimum. So there's lots of plans in place, more coming out this week with the release of the next edition of the playbook. You'll see there that it's very well planned, and will certainly protect the Japanese people.